Try this simple test. Using wire cutters, fashion 2 coat hangers to create a pair of L-shaped rods. Now place a few coins on the floor or ground in front of you, and hold the rods like a pistol. Walk over the coins and see if the rods react. If they swivel and cross each other, pointing inward, you might just have the right stuff to dowse for treasure. It's controversial, and to some it's just downright strange. The art and science of dowsing for lost and buried valuables. The technique of dowsing, often referred to as divining, is said to date back as far as 7000 BC, where cave paintings in Africa seem to show ancient dowsers applying their trade. The Greeks and the Romans also practiced divining, but the first written reference to this art or science appeared in 1556 in a publication titled De Re Metallica. Its author, Georgius Agricola, believed that various metals and minerals could be found by using Y-shaped forked sticks. Holding the forked pieces in both hands, the theory was that the lead tip would dip dramatically when the dowser walked over metal. Agricola went as far as prescribing the proper kind of tree to create a divining rod for each different kind of metal, for instance, ash twigs to find copper. The French took the technique of dowsing to a new level of credibility by calling it radiesthesia. This fancy term was backed up by quite a thought-provoking theory. Radiesthesia was explained as the emitting of different wavelengths or patterns by all matter on Earth. By using the proper dowsing instrument, people could tune into these waves and locate literally anything they desired. And although dowsing is still considered by many as simply superstition or wistful thinking, there are thousands of believers in America today who practice this ancient and mysterious technique to locate water, oil, precious metals, and even missing persons. Some dowsing enthusiasts believe it is strictly a matter of extrasensory perception, with no practical explanation. But others stay fast to the concept that it encompasses a level of science that remains yet unexplored by traditional technology. Louis Metasia is considered a master dowser by his peers. He has successfully divined lost, buried, and hidden objects underground for the last 40 years. His interest in this practice started soon after he began a career in surveying and encountered situations where he was asked to help locate wells, pipes, and a wide variety of other subterranean utilities and structures. Metasia was instrumental in introducing dowsing to the United States military, and his advice paid off in Vietnam as soldiers used rods to locate tunnels, as well as landmines and hidden caches of weapons and munitions. Many of the military who used what they called Metasia's wire rudders commented that they had no idea how or why they worked. They just did. Today, Louis Metasia has turned much of his interest in dowsing to the quest for the rare and the valuable. Along with his daughter Ginette, he has conducted seminars across the country entitled The Secrets of Locating Gold and Silver. His techniques and theories are far beyond what might be considered conventional treasure hunting. Tom Marsh met with Metasia recently to compare ideas and share some mutual searching experiences.
Louis, what got you from dowsing water pipes and water and into a fascination for treasure hunting?
I believe that the treasure hunting is probably one of the greatest challenges, because not only do you have to know geology, chemistry, physics, you have to know all the sciences in order to know what you're doing. But I think that these people who buried it 400 years ago, or many people today bury treasure, and they've lost it. They can't find it. Uncle John, he buried cans of money in the garden and he can't find it. But he doesn't realize that there are ways to find it. But I try to combine the scientific devices along with the dowsing, because the dowsing shortcuts everything. It just gets you to the point quick. And then you take your electronic instruments and verify what you did with your dowsing.
Although some individuals seem to have an instant affinity for the application of rods, Mr. Metasia believes that most people learn with experience. The more one practices these techniques, the more latent talent comes to the surface, and the user becomes much more sensitive to the rod's reactions.
Now, as far as long distance location goes, if you begin your dowsing by searching for water, then you will go through the whole process of learning how these rods work. In other words, when I first started, the dowsers taught me how to locate water. And once I started locating water, but then I used different instruments, and then I got the idea of how to do it, and then I became proficient in the instrument.
Now, what were you taught to work with first? What type of, was it a forked stick, or was it...
The first one that they taught was the branch. And of course, this is a graduation from the forked branch tree. Mm-hmm. This is a German dowsing rod made out of stainless steel.
Dowsing and divining rods have taken on many shapes and designs over the centuries of application. Although wooden rods are still frequently used to locate underground water sources by what many people refer to as water witching, treasure dowsers all but unanimously prefer metal instruments to search for lost and buried valuables. Loading is a relatively new technique where the operator places a metal sample of what he or she is searching for in a chamber in the rod itself. In theory, this sets up a natural attraction between the target and the rod.
Here's another kind of loading. Here we place wooden blocks at the perimeter of our search area. Inside the blocks are samples of gold or silver or even oil. The theory is that the area within the blocks enhances the dowsing effect of the dowser. The load helps to track and pinpoint our specific material sought. There's really no explanation for the ability to dowse as it relates to traditional scientific principles. But the successes of hunters using these methods are well documented, and perhaps until we can really determine how and why it works, it may continue to be a mystery to some extent. The instruments themselves are actually tools to enhance the ability of the dowser. There are some who claim to be able to dowse with their own hands, without the use of any external tool.
Even on the edge of scientific fact or fiction, dowsers continue to try to improve their instruments. Recently, inventors have attempted to combine electronic technology with the basic divining principles. But Mr. Matej's interest in the subject doesn't keep him from exploring new frontiers. Somewhere in his pursuit of more divining knowledge, he discovered the baffling technique of map dowsing. For most, the practice of seeking treasure by mystically scanning a map might seem far-fetched, but not so fast. Matej offers some insight.
Now we're going to look for some treasure.
Right.
What's our process?
Well, the process I always do is I'll write down what I'm looking for.
Excellent.
And that gives me a focusing point. Mm-hmm. So I have a little town here. So we want to know, for example, in this little town, where is the greatest amount of treasure buried? Gold and silver.
Okay.
So the first thing I do on a map is you rub your hands over the map. Now this is what I've been taught. I don't know the principle behind it, but I know that's the way I was taught.
And it works for you.
That's right. Maybe other people have another system. So once I rub my hand over the map, then I start. And I have a laser light here, and it pinpoints.
Into this.
And what it does, the hand automatically moves across the map.
Okay.
And the pendulum is already pre-programmed. So if it goes in a circle, then I know I'm on the target.
Okay. So now we're looking for a treasure, the greatest amount of treasure in this area.
Correct. It's a little town
buried
right
and
here.
Still there.
That's right. And also, you always program to be recovered.
Okay, to be
recovered. A lot
recovered.
of times you can't recover it, so we always want to add that to it.
Okay.
So that is a big key. That's why a lot of people don't know that there's a lot of treasure here, but there's some treasure that you can recover and some you cannot due to the terrain.
So where do we start?
Well, usually I start at the bottom of the map and let the pen run its course to where we are going and what we want to do. But you'll notice how it's going up the road.
Mm-hmm.
That's an automatic deal. It just goes right up the road. and then it starts moving around the town itself. It's searching the town for the greatest amount. There we go, right there, you see? That is now indicating to me that there's a treasure buried right there that can be recovered. Right on that point, right there.
We all know that dowsing doesn't work for everybody. Many treasure hunters have tried it and have had no success whatsoever. To that extent, we know that it has something to do with the individual abilities relating to some kind of sensory perception of the mind and body.
But one thing's for certain. Louis Metasia has shown that he has an extraordinary talent for locating valuable objects, including two very unusual finds: a huge natural quartz crystal weighing over 50 pounds and a metal helmet lost by the conquistadors centuries ago. Both of these recoveries are extremely rare and quite valuable.
Take a good look at this photograph. At first, the odd flare of light in the center might be quickly dismissed as some kind of overexposure or development glitch. But experienced dowsers like Louis Metasia are seriously studying this phenomena and believe it occurs when a photograph is taken of a bona fide treasure site.
Well, there are a lot of different techniques that you add to the dowsing. So you use part of dowsing and part any scientific way that you can work with it. So one of the best ways that I have found is that when you're searching for silver or gold, they emanate rays. So you can actually take a Polaroid camera of the treasure in the beginning of the day or the end of the day, and it will be a halo that is given off and is picked up that we can't see with our eye. And the camera, the Polaroid camera, picks this up as a light streak or as actually looks like a rocket coming right over top of the treasure.
Through research, they've discovered that certain Polaroid cameras yield these kinds of images consistently when exposed to an area that holds buried caches of valuables or naturally occurring veins of precious metals.
I went to Colorado and I worked on the mining areas, and I discovered a halo 100 feet in diameter, and I was over a quarter mile away. And the halo came over the mine.
Very interesting.
Oh, it was beautiful. I had to take about 40 mines before I got it.
Although no explanation can be etched in stone, consensus among practitioners leans to the speculation that it has a close tie with the theories associated with dowsing. Again, we encounter the possibility of wavelengths emanating from natural and man-made objects. The Polaroid camera acts much as a divining rod, capable of capturing the essence of the wave, invisible to the human eye. Louis Metasia believes the camera will become an integral part of the future of divining for treasure. Although many of the discoveries made by dowsers have been documented over the years, the vast majority have been well-kept secrets. As with just about any kind of treasure hunting, many major recoveries go unreported for a variety of reasons, including increasing governmental regulation, insurance litigation, and, of course, the IRS. So proof, as we demand it in so many other controversial matters, may not be so soon forthcoming. And even the debate among dowsers themselves as to exactly what they're experiencing will continue. But regardless of whether divining is based on some kind of unknown scientific principle or beliefs bordering on the supernatural, they still will agree that for whatever reason, it works for them.